Welcome back, everyone, to CNGtv. I'm Liz Brunner, and joining me in our studio today from the CoreNet Global Summit North America is Suzanne Mehta. Good to have you here, Suzanne.
Thank you.
You have more than 15 years of experience in delivering marketing differentiating strategies for Cushman Wakefield, and I love this title. You're the Chief Experience Officer, with the key being Experience Officer, exactly. And your role is to really kind of establish a vision and strategy for the user experience.
Yeah.
What are some of your more surprising discoveries to date?
Yeah. I think the biggest learning is how incredibly important it is to design with the human in mind. We have, as an industry, been very focused on buildings. And as a core competency, that makes sense.
Sure.
And I think the emerging trend and the emerging need really is how will we start to think about the human beings that occupy those buildings in a more empathetic way. So that is where kind of my background has really, come into play, thinking about user journeys, borrowing some of those principles from the consumer products world, from the hospitality world, and thinking about how we start to design employee experiences and occupant experiences.
That's a shift.
A huge shift.
A huge shift.
But very relatable.
Absolutely relatable. Yeah. You have experience in, some high-end luxury companies, Hyatt, L'Oreal, Procter & Gamble. How do you go about uncovering what the right path is for each enterprise? Because they're all different.
Yeah. There's a few things I like to think about. The first is, what are our clients' goals? What is the corporate culture that we're trying to live up to?
Sure.
What is part of our DNA? Where do we want to go as a company? What do we stand for? Those are the types of questions I like to ask first, because the workplace environment needs to ladder to that. First and foremost, what we say in the marketplace for any given employer needs to actually come to life in the workplace environment and support employees in that same way. From a more kind of tactical perspective, we look at a combination of kind of quantitative data and qualitative data. So quantitative data, taking a large sample of occupants or employees in our case, and thinking about what workplace drivers are there that really move the needle. Is it about your food and beverage experience at work? Is it about comfort? Is it about wellness? Is it about your ability to interact with your colleagues? What are the drivers that make you happy, and what are the drivers that matter most from a quantitative perspective?
Yeah, I would imagine the millennial mindset has been one of those drivers that has been key to kind of moving that needle. How do you assist companies in working around all of that right now?
Sure. So there are some attributes of millennials that we know make them very unique in the marketplace, but there are also some attributes that have now kind of become common, right? Like the need for flexibility in the workplace. Sure. I think if you were to ask a Gen X and a baby boomer and a millennial, they might all give you similar answers. And that is really because that mindset has permeated. It may have started with millennials, but it now has permeated through the other generations. Okay. So I like to, kind of advise my clients, let's think less about age and demographics, and let's think more about the predominant mindsets, interests, need states of your employees, and let's design against those instead.
Okay, now let's take it to the next level, which is are the Gen Z folks.
Yeah.
What is that doing for this next generation, and how does that sort of impact all the things that you were just saying?
Yeah, so similarly, I again would want to kind of cluster them based on their interests and less on their age. But what I think is really interesting about Gen Z is that they are the first truly digital natives. So
you're right.
Millennials, they kind of
they were kind of
adapted.
Yeah, they adapted. Right.
They adapted, and they adapted
we
really
adapted.
well.
Our generation.
I did too.
Our generation
I'm a Y,
adapted.
or I'm an X. So I get that. I've lived with it and without it. Whereas Gen Z are born into it. Right. Snapchat and texting and WhatsApp. It's the immediacy and the ability to get everything on your mobile phone that has really become table stakes. So I think that will play a big impact in how we design experiences moving forward.
And it makes you wonder what would be next, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just everything happens so fast.
Yeah.
Suzanne, a pleasure to have you here. We wish you continued success in helping your clients run at peak performance.
Thank you.
Thank you
Liz.
so much. A pleasure. And thank you for joining us as well. I'm Liz Brunner.